Okay, today is October 21st, 2017, and we are at the Community Media Center in Westminster, Maryland. And I am Gary Livengood, and I'm interviewing Brett Fleagle from Tawnytown, Maryland, and speaking with Brett about his experiences in the military. What war, I'm assuming you were in a war, but what war did you serve in, Brett?
I served in Vietnam.
Okay, and what branch of service?
Marine Corps.
And what was your rank?
I got out as an E3 Lance Corporal.
Okay, and where did you serve when you were in Nam?
It was Da Nang I Corps.
Okay. Going back to the beginning, were you drafted or did you volunteer or?
I enlisted out of high school.
Out of high school. And where were you living at the time?
I was born and raised in Tawnytown.
Okay. And why did you join?
It was a thing to do.
Okay. And what is it that caused you to pick the Marines over another branch?
I felt they were the most badass.
That'll do. And do you recall your first days in the with the Marine Corps?
Yes, quite vividly. Boot camp.
How was boot camp?
It was different.
Yeah? In what regard?
Well, my mother was rough on me, but these guys made her look like a saint. It was the first, when we arrived at Paris Island on the bus in the middle of the night, it's quite chaotic. You know, the drill instructors come on the bus, they look around, and I've heard all the stories, of course. And then they leave the bus, and I'm thinking, oh, this won't be so bad. And then they come back on, and all hell breaks loose. Mm-hmm. And people was throwing cigarettes away, their candy, their chips, anything to get off the bus as quick as they said we should do. And we had to get up and line up on the footsteps. Mm-hmm. And this whole process goes on for about 2 days without sleep.
So I'm assuming then that you vividly remember your instructors.
Absolutely.
How did you manage to get through it?
I guess you just have to reach down within inside yourself and you want to do it. You don't want to be the guy, as they would tell us, that's going to go home in a tweed suit because all your clothes had been thrown away or mailed home. And I couldn't see getting on a bus in a tweed suit and going home and telling everybody I couldn't cut it, and then you're back up for the draft and end up in the Army or something where you don't want to be. Mm.
And what year was this that you were going through?
I went in 1970.
1970.
January the 6th.
Okay. And what was your first duty station?
Well, after all my training was done, I landed in Da Nang, and we went to up on the First Division Ridge, and we stayed there that day and night, filling sandbags and everything else they could find us to do in 120 degrees heat, which it was a shocker. And then the next day we were taken out to our units. And
what type of a unit was this?
I was in a motor transport battalion. My training was motor transport, heavy 6x trucks, and track vehicle.
And what was your area of responsibility?
Well, it was all of I Corps. It ran from the DMZ to about 70 miles south at Da Nang, and then over to the Kwe San Mountains, Laotian border.
And were you attached to any combat units, or you were part of a combat unit, or?
We were support, and I was security. I rode on a Muldoose, a 50 caliber machine gun, up on the ring mount.
And I'm assuming then that you vividly recall your experiences while you were manning a 50 cal.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Anything you wish to share, or?
I don't want to go into detail, but I mean, there was moments, and the first one, I guess, would have been the worst, you know.
And you were in country how long?
I was in country a year.
Okay. While you were in country, how did you like the mess halls? What kind of food did you get to enjoy?
God, after boot camp, anything tasted good. But it wasn't really all that bad. I mean, I can remember some mess halls, you know, you wanted your eggs sunny side up, and I mean, they'd ask you how you wanted your eggs, and if they broke one, they put another one for you. So it wasn't all that bad. The food was pretty good. I did get sick of rice.
Okay. How many people were in your transport unit? Roughly.
Well, you got to understand, these kind of battalions and companies aren't as large as a grunt unit. You know, a grunt unit, a company would be maybe 150 to 200 and a quarter men. Mostly the Marine Corps was under that. But there may have been 100 of us, maybe. Most of the time we were short.
Okay. And during your transports and whatnot, did you ever come under fire?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming that you made a lot of friends while you were there?
Well,
Within your unit?
yeah, it's like any other community. You get to know people and their little quirks. You have some guys you like, some guys you don't. Mm-hmm. But when things had to be done, everybody worked together. There was no animosity.
Now, have you been able to maintain relationships subsequent to Vietnam with any of the people that you served with?
I did one for a while, but time goes on, you know. It's like when you work and you retire, you're going to keep in touch with your buddies. It just doesn't work.
Okay. So you came back to the world.
There you go.
In 71? 1971?
Yeah, 71.
Okay, and then were you discharged then?
No, I came home. We landed in California. I went to Pendleton, and I guess I was there for about 2 weeks before I got my 30-day leave. And then I went back to Pendleton.
And then when did you?
We got out January 6, 1972, to the day.
Okay, to the day. And your experiences subsequent to that, what did you do? You left the Marines.
Got off the rock and come back to the world.
And when you were back in the world, how did you take care of Brett?
I worked at Black & Decker before I went in. I went back to Black & Decker, and I worked the midnight shift and got laid off and decided I wanted security, and I was bored. I needed an adrenaline rush, so I became a police officer.
And where was this?
I started out with Carroll County Sheriff's Office back then in the detention center, and then I got brought down to at the time they called the road, and I went to Westminster City, and then went back to the Sheriff's Office and retired from there as a detective.
And when was this? When did you retire?
Oh, wow, 1994 on disability.
What happened?
I got chasing some young men down an alley, and tramped in a pothole, tore my knee up, and they ran into a dead-end alley. They couldn't go anywhere, and I couldn't let them know I was hurting because it was 3 of them. And then when backup got there, and I had to lay down. He said, well, you hurt the guy. One of the gentlemen said, is he hurt? And backup said, apparently. He said, we could have ran past him. And since then, I've had it replaced.
Okay. And seems to be functioning well?
Yes.
Good, good. In fitting back into society and whatnot, coming back from NAM, et cetera, any difficulties?
Well, it was an adjustment to be made. I may rebelled a little bit, let my hair grow somewhat, but that didn't last too long. But sleeping could be an issue at times, thunderstorms, loud cracks. And I don't know, it's always been an sense of something gnawing at me. I didn't know what it was. And of course, you know, we talked about it earlier, there was nobody to go to then for us like it is today. Mm-hmm. And it was years and years later for a co-worker that my wife worked with was a corpsman, knew about the lawsuit that had been won as far as Agent Orange went and PTSD. And I got hooked up with Senator Bartlett's office. Was a young lady that's what she did for him because her brother got all screwed up over there. So she did all the paperwork, got me put into got me a meeting with the VA, and went through talked to all kinds of different doctors and psychiatrists. And the worst part of that was I had to write my experience to them. And that took me about 2 weeks, because a lot of times it was break time, you know. Let's leave this go for a while.
You had to
it was
reduce
because
it
I
to
never
writing.
thought about it that much anymore. And then when I started thinking about it, all this stuff come back. And like I said, I left it there, thought I did. I had to pull up maps because I didn't remember hardly anything. Oh yeah, I was on there. Yeah, I was there. Yeah, we were here. And I was awarded disability for Agent Orange. And I pulled up I-Corps. Oh my. That whole place was sprayed. And I ate the dust in the mud every day. And I got type 2 diabetes, which no one in my family's ever had. No one's ever been diabetic. And I got awarded PTSD. So I figured that's what was when I couldn't understand through all those years, mm-hmm. Why I was so angry. And I didn't realize then it was anger, but then I realized what it was that was bothering me so much.
And does that continue to bother you today, or are you
No, you
that?
know what? Since I knew what it was, and I've dealt with it, and I had to talk with the psychiatrist and things like that. No, I understand it now, and I'm more controlled of it. It was a problem as a police officer sometimes. Yes.
Were there, relative to your time in service in Vietnam and whatnot, were there any positive experiences that you brought back from Nam that prevailed throughout the rest of your life?
Gee, that's a tough one. I guess the biggest thing is you can appreciate what we have here. And it made me understand why I did what I did, because we should never lose this. And I think you being a veteran and anyone else would say, to this day, don't try to take it from us, because we will stand, even if we can't hardly walk at times. You set me on a ring mount, I don't have to walk or run, but we're going to protect it.
When you left the service, what was your rank?
I was an E3 Lance Corporal.
E3 Lance Corporal. And so then you went into the private sector and back with Black & Decker and then the police force. How was your time in the police force? And what is it that drove you to the police force?
I didn't feel like I was accomplished anything staying at Black & Decker, plus I got laid off.
Oh.
I had gotten another job for a while, but factories just didn't cut it. And like I said, I missed the adrenaline rush. And I figured, I look at a police officer and say, whatever's going on, he knows. I want to know. I want to do something. Mm-hmm. I still want to serve. So that's probably what drove me. I just wanted to serve and have that excitement again. Okay. It's addictive.
Have you now satisfied your adrenaline rush?
Yes, I have. I want no rush.
While you were in service, how did you communicate with your loved ones?
It was all letters.
Any recordings? Any?
Some, yeah. We had recordings, yeah.
And how often did you get your mail? That was through APO, right?
Yeah, every day. The mail was pretty good. I mean, I got to give it to the government to come to the mail. They send you cookies. They may have been in crumbs, but they were still good.
And once you got back, now did you become part of any organizations or associations such as the American Legion?
Oh yeah, I joined the American Legion, VFW.
And how long have you been a member there?
Since I got out.
So that's quite a while then. Do you have any communications at all with any of your ex-military comrades?
No.
No. And is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you think that we ought to talk about that illustrates your time, your service?
Well, I just, like I said, I'm not one to talk about it as far as the nitty gritty of what you got into. The people should know the demonstrations of the 60s and the 70s, that wasn't 99% of your military in Vietnam. Your Hollywood movies of some things they were supposed to do. Yeah, they happened, but it wasn't something that was out of control. It was just human nature. I mean, you got angry and you wanted to do things, but most of us didn't do those things. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for 19, 20-year-old boys to be in a country where you look around and thinking, they all want to kill me. Or which one wants to kill me? Which one's VC? Which one's not VC? I think we all did pretty good comprehending and staying within the bounds of where we belong.
Well, I certainly do appreciate your time, Brett, and again, thank you for your service.
Thank you.